This is Green Bay Newsmakers, where your host Elliot Christensen asks the questions.
How did you get started? Anything you'd have done differently?
That highlight the best of northeastern Wisconsin's business community. And now, here's Elliot.
I'm here with Rachel. This is episode number 3 of Green Bay Newsmakers.
Hey, Elliot.
Hey.
Hi.
So, Rachel, you're the Rachel,
The one.
right?
Yes.
Like I went to the Google, you're the Rachel.
As far as Google is concerned, yes, that's true.
So you are the owner of The Gift Itself
Yes.
in Green Bay's beloved Broadway district.
Yes.
Still beloved.
In my opinion, yes. That is absolutely accurate. Yes.
Well, you're the core. You're like the central
I am very
Hub.
much. Yes.
of activity.
The business is located right in the core of the district. Yes. So I like to think that I'm in the center of all the activity.
And so you took over in 2012.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so I'm kind of interested in that, the process that sort of led up to that. I guess really the moment where you said, I would like to do this.
Okay.
So
Fill in gaps.
yeah.
Yeah. So I started working for the previous two owners, Al Book and Michelle Zala, in 2006. I was introduced to the business via my mother, of all people. Of course, mom's going to be the one that introduces you to something cool. And I knew a lot of what was going on in terms of the retail side of it and the product line that they had available. And it was purely based on the fact that I had been working in art-related industries my entire working career since I was old enough to work. I've only ever really been in art-related industry. So I got hired right away, and I was doing really well. And apart from knowing what was available in the shop, what the retail side of it was involved, the main focus is jewelry production in-house. So I started making jewelry on the side and selling it as a side project. And I knew from the sales stats that I was doing really, really well. And the opportunity arose via the previous owners, Al and Michelle. They gave me an opportunity to take over because they wanted to exit from business ownership. They were done calling themselves retail business owners.
So you mentioned stats.
Yes, we have an amazing point of sale system that does show you costs, profits, sales statistics on every single artist that we have ever carried since 2003 when they first procured that point of sale system. And if I didn't have as high of numbers in sales for my own line of jewelry, then I probably wouldn't have felt so confident about saying, yes, I want to do this. It did take about a year or so to actually procure a loan to take over the assets of the business. And I have to say that I learned an awful lot in that time in terms of the business operations. And by that point, I was working full-time. I was making jewelry on the side, and I had a lot of experience working with the customers themselves at that point in sales. But I also had a working relationship with the artists themselves as well, where I was already managing their inventory. I was already making that connection. And I guess really the only thing that I had left to learn was the accounting side of it. And
how's that going for you?
It was my whole day today, actually. End of the quarter, and yeah.
I hate that stuff.
I agree. Yeah. I am a jeweler first and foremost, and I gotta say that it is a real bonus that when you are getting really bored of dealing with numbers, I can turn right around and, melt metal and forge things, hammers, anvils.
For the record, I never see you looking at numbers. You're always melting metal whenever I see you.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, it's the end of the quarter.
So when you're in the midst of working for Al and Michelle,
yes,
and you get this inkling like I could probably do this. So when did that moment hit?
It honestly was a question of what do I want to do? Where do I want to go? I was given the option to take over and gather as much information as I possibly could in order to get a loan for the assets. Or
so was it your idea or was it their idea?
Kind of a collaborative. I mean, they officially asked me if I wanted to take over. I didn't just kind of,
Was there wine involved?
Maybe.
Did you wake up the next day and say, what did I agree to?
Safe to say that it was years ago, so I don't have to remember that little specific detail.
So I should go into long-term contracts with you because you'll just, it's been 4 years.
Unless it's in writing. I mean, why remember it, right?
I don't know.
Exactly.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, so then it was the matter of, do I want to take over the business and call it my own, since the previous two owners did not want to be the owner anymore? I could either take over or I could start a completely new job somewhere in Green Bay that might not have been as awesome as I think the gift itself is. The mission and the concept is pretty unique for Green Bay. There's not a lot of places that have the artisan concept behind it, but I only ever sell American-made products. I don't have anything for sale that has a tag that says made in China, which is kind of different. So I could have, decided, move on, start a different job somewhere else, but it's a pretty cool job, all in all. I certainly really like it, or I would have probably had to move somewhere else that would have offered me the same opportunity or a similar opportunity.
During that process, when you were taking over and you were securing a loan, what was something that you maybe encountered that you didn't expect?
How long of a process it was going to take?
Well, really?
In general, yeah. I mean, it was a year worth of time. But then again, I did work with the Advanced Microloan Program that was through the chamber. I think they actually dissolved that program as of now. I think it might actually officially be done. But I wasn't so aware on the odds and ends and all of the specific details that were involved. So the process ultimately ended up taking a lot longer than expected. And there were certain things that needed to just get tied down, by the previous owners before I could officially sign on the dotted line. So it was a collaborative through the advanced program, through my gathering of information, working with the previous owners, and altogether it just ended up taking a really long time to get it all squared away. And then by the time it was all said and done, there was a board that was in charge of saying yes or no to a loan. And I was pretty surprised at the lack of questions in that interview process, but it ended up working in my favor.
So what advice would you give somebody if they were in a sort of a similar situation? They're a manager, they're an employee, and they're looking to, buy out some old owners?
You should gather more information than you really think that you need to.
Like what kinds of information?
Well, having years worth of sales history is probably a good idea. And being able to have, some experience being a manager, handling, in this case, I'm handling 35 different artists' work. And at that time there were more. And, gosh, that's a really good question.
Well, so Numbers brings to mind. You're familiar with Jay-Z and Tidal?
As in the rapper?
Yeah. So okay. Jay-Z, I know it's confusing.
I never thought I would hear you reference Jay-Z, but okay.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot in common.
Obviously.
And so he bought this existing music service that's like Apple Music or Spotify. Mm-hmm. It's called Tidal, and he got all of his besties involved. So I don't know, Kanye West is one of them, right? So they're all involved in this, but so they hit this point now where Jay-Z is suing the original owners of it because he felt like their subscriber numbers were inflated, where they kind of were not honest about that.
Sure.
So I would say if I was giving somebody advice in this circumstance is, know the people you're buying from and know whether they're probably honest or not.
Sure.
In your case, I think that was probably something you didn't have to think about too much.
Not really, no. Considering I was actually...
You were working there.
Yeah.
And
they wrote my paychecks.
Right. Well, that doesn't necessarily matter. Donald Trump writes a lot of paychecks.
Touche.
Yeah. Okay. So I took us in a weird place. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
Oh, this is a good question I have for you. So that first year as a business owner, what's something you learned?
I had no idea how frequently you had to do things like deal with the Department of Revenue or the IRS. So I had to get over my own personal feelings about,
I don't think they know either.
they don't either.
I think they just say,
yeah.
you know what? I feel like bothering Rachel today.
Yeah, and giving me a call, that's fine. So I had to learn to have a better working relationship with the Department of Revenue and the IRS, which thankfully it's all going very positive.
That's good. I didn't see you come in with handcuffs, so it's all good.
See, perks, winning already. Yeah,
It's really the two choices.
right.
If you either have beer in your backpack or you have a bomb, and you're either in handcuffs
Learn
or you're winning,
one day at a time.
right?
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you've done art for a long time.
Yes.
When you were a kid, did you envision yourself being what you are now?
No, I had no idea what I was going to be doing. However, I was recently reminded that my family and family friends often joked about me being a retail business owner at some point, that someday Rachel's going to have her own store. And I think it just had to do with the fact that I had a lot of knickknacks and trinket things that were decorating my room. I had a lot of stories, I guess you could say, that went along with all of these little things that I had in my possession, material objects. And yet, for the most part, they came from somewhere. Somebody had gifted me something or, traveled somewhere in this new thing that was in my possession or whatever. But short answer, no, I had no idea that I was ever going to be a retail business owner, much less one when I was turning 26. That was kind of a surprise.
That's true. You're very young, and you're 25 now.
Thank you. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Give or take. Numbers.
Numbers are not my strong suit.
That's fine. Mine either.
The computer does the numbers.
Yeah.
It's easy.
That's why we have calculators.
So would you say that you had a lot of support from your family going into it?
Yes.
And I guess, okay, if they listen, you're obligated to say that, aren't you?
Obviously.
So I didn't mean to phrase it that way. So entrepreneurs have a sickness.
Yeah.
And other people who are not entrepreneurs do not understand this sickness.
Mm-hmm.
So do you come from a line of entrepreneurs who understand the sickness, or do you come from a line of people who have ordinary jobs and are sane, normal, rational human beings?
I'm going to say that it's a very healthy balance of both. I think is
A healthy balance of sickness and normalcy.
Yes, I think is in a very appropriate way to, especially if the parents hear this.
Yeah.
Well, so my dad is.
Well, we are going to start some controversy somehow.
At some point, why not? So my dad is a bass player, and he is with the local band Big Mouth and the Power Tool Horns. He's one of the original band members for over 25 years, coming on 30 years now. So obviously music was a very heavy influence in the house. Fond memories of being dragged into the basement, not dragged, but, dad hollering down, you got to listen to this. And he put some Frank Zappa vinyl, got to listen to this one tune. And my mom was always very encouraging. And I think I actually got my first little collection of beads for making jewelry from my mom when I had to have been less than 5 years old, just wee little thing. And I did find some of those beads recently too. So it's just
some of the original beads.
The original from my mom that were in a plastic doggy bag for years. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So is that going to become a piece?
I haven't decided yet. And that's kind of one of those things like, do you just hold on
Dibs.
to them? They're wooden hippie beads. You might like them. Perfect.
I like all sorts of wooden hippie things. I guess.
Okay.
I don't know.
The more you know.
I don't even know what that means. So, if you weren't doing what you're doing, what do you think you would be doing?
Gosh, I really hope that I would be doing something in the arts. I don't know. I would probably be creating still, whether it's jewelry specifically or some other medium of art. I can't really help but want to make things. Even in college, even as an employee, I would find myself doing a lot of creative things. I should say creating with my own hands just because, well, why not? My mom was never one person to sit back and let other people do things for her. To give you an idea, she just put in hardwood floors in my old bedroom just 2 weeks ago because she decided, well, now I've got it and I'm going to do it and I'm going to sit down on the floor and get down, finish up these hardwood floors that I've been talking about doing for years upon years. So a lot of the hands-on experience that I got growing up and in the house was with her, fond memories of installing sheetrock in a room we were renovating together and nail guns.
Making stuff.
It sounds like, to me, you should have been a carpenter.
That's Jacob, the voice.
Oh, there he is.
The voice.
Let's just say I don't shy away from using skill saws and pneumatic hammers.
No, she's scary.
I don't know what those are.
Cool. Oh, wow.
Yeah. See,
They're
Jacob
fun.
and I are nerds.
Yeah, computers. It's
Yeah.
okay.
I would say, find me this thing that already exists.
Hire somebody to install
Right.
thing. Yeah.
Right. That's why I'm not handy and also broke.
Oh, see? Well, all right,
Yeah.
there you go.
Where'd you go to college?
Right here in UWGB.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what did you major in?
Spanish.
I think I knew that, but
Yeah.
that's for the listeners.
Yeah, Spanish.
So did you do art at GB?
After a couple of semesters, yeah.
Yeah.
Spanish was from foreign exchange that I did when I was in high school. And I thought that I was going to have this easy out of college by just going into Spanish, get my degree. I placed into junior level Spanish. So I was anticipating like 2, maybe 3 years tops. But then I found out sophomore year about this whole split between interdisciplinary and disciplinary degrees. So by that point, it's like, okay, I have to pick something else. What am I going to pick? And for a long time, I thought I was going to be a geologist. And looking at the criteria of being a geologist, and there's a lot of math involved, and that's not what I'm good at. So again, with my mom coming in and saying, well, why don't you figure out something in the arts? That's what you've been doing. That's what you know really well. Give it a shot. So graphic design was the one option available. And I excelled. I went from getting C's to A's all of a sudden, and my GPA was raising, and the teachers liked me, and I felt challenged, but also felt like it was something that I could do, and I wanted to. And so it was not only a greater appreciation for my talent that I guess I really didn't even realize that I had, but also that I was starting to enjoy school that much more just because I'm doing something that turns out I really like.
So you studied abroad?
In high school, yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was a mixed bag, but it was awesome.
Yeah.
I would not have traded that for anything.
So what'd you do? Where'd you go?
Well, I went to Antofagasta, Chile. It is kind of the pseudo capital of the northern region of Chile. It was right on the Pacific Ocean. Bedroom window faced the ocean.
Wow.
Kind of cool. Yeah. I had 2 host families. The second host family was like right on the water and a few blocks away from the high school. Yeah, it was awesome.
So what did you not like about that? Because that sounds pretty awesome.
Okay. Well, so I had my first host family was not the best, and I didn't realize how much they didn't like me until well into my exchange. I was supposed to actually live with them for a full year, and by month 7, I found out that they thought I was stealing from them. Specifically, my host mom thought that I stole her mascara. And like now,
Well, I think they're not listening. So did you?
no, and that's the greatest part is that I don't wear makeup. I haven't owned.
I never knew you to be a heavy mascara maker.
Obviously, yeah, I just cake that on all the time. So that, and then she decided that I took a ring and then I put it back. So she thought that she wanted to wear it and went to go find it where she thought it was, and it wasn't there. But then conveniently, a week later, it was there. I don't know. It just got really weird. They actually, they changed the locks on the door while I was off traveling to other parts of the country with some other exchange students. So I called them and said, hey, my bus is arriving in Antofagasta at such and such time in the morning. I'll be arriving with another friend who's an exchange student. See you then. And I'm talking to my host mom, and she knew, okay, I'll see you later. And she had just told me that they were going to be gone for a couple of days on a little mini vacation with some of the other family members, and never mentioned anything about, locks being changed or anything like that. So when I show up, they're gone. Can't get into the apartment. It would have been one thing if I could have even just gotten in there and they said, don't stay here while we're gone. That would have been fine. At least could have gotten home, showered, changed clothes, go somewhere else. But I couldn't even get in my house with all my stuff in it.
What do you do then?
Well, what did I do? I think I went to the nearest internet cafe and sat there until one of my other friends was on Hotmail Instant Messenger, and I let her know what was going on. She was another exchange student in the same high school as I was, and she lived just down the road. So I went and stayed with her for a couple hours until I was able to nail down a place to stay for the night. Ended up being with a classmate. Next night was at that classmate's aunt's house. And it was 3 nights, and on the 4th day, finally got back in the house. And then they were kind of, surprised and shocked, like, where were you? I'm like, why did you change the locks on the door? That would have been nice to know about. So, it got a little sour towards the end.
I only encounter changed locks in my hometown.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Going to a foreign country.
I was 17, by the way.
You are right in the heart of downtown. What do you love about downtown Green Bay? What do you love about doing business in Green Bay?
So I really liked when I first started working there that it had a little bit more of that small town feel. I grew up in Fish Creek in Door County, so everybody and any business is independently owned. And it's only recently that we actually have something more of a chain. I think it's a Shopko now in Sister Bay. Used to be an old grocery store when I was a kid, and now it was a Pomida for a while. Now it's a Shopko. So that is like the first chain store, apart from like BP gas stations, Shell,
Wow, a Shopko? You're really living the dream.
I know.
It's a Shopko hometown.
Right. Yeah. It's they built within the previous existing building. There was no modification.
So what do you think we're missing here in Green Bay? You've been all over the world.
Well, one thing that I was sad to see leave when I first started was the Jones Motor, like full auto repair mechanic would be kind of cool.
Well, okay, so they're talking about this baseball stadium thing.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So, and that could go into a weird tangent because it's really comes down to a matter of fixing our broken sewer system or building a fancy baseball stadium, and there's a trade-off that nobody wants to make, right?
Right.
So I guess aside from the fictional baseball stadium that may or may not happen,
right?
Like what other things do you think we're kind of needing to really catalyze? They're looking for that to be a catalyst for
right.
for the southern part of Broadway, right? To bring other types of things in there.
Well, so growing up in Door County, there's obviously this huge connection with the water. That's kind of a major component, not only to, what makes Door County kind of special, but also, a lot can be gained economically from having a nice industry that surrounds and encompasses the water. And I think that it's improving. When I first started in 2006, there wasn't a city deck. There was the trail, the Fox River Trail, but it wasn't awesome. It wasn't as easy as it is now to get onto it. But there's a couple of spots that could definitely be improved upon, specifically along the river, specifically adjacent to the proposed Bullfrog Stadium, that being the lovely coal piles that happen along the west bank of the river.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody thinks that that's an appropriate use of that space.
That's good.
But there's, I don't think coal piles are nobody's favorite thing.
Right.
But it's a matter of how much money is it worth to make that change, right?
Right.
So I guess the baseball thing,
Mm-hmm.
The political thing around that,
Mm-hmm.
we're right before the election when we record this. So we're the Friday before the election. This won't come out till after the election.
Right.
So do you have any, have you heard anything about any of that from the people that are running for city council? Like, do you have an inkling? Are they going to, Are they going to do the appropriate things for Broadway, for downtown? What are your feelings on the people that are potentially going to win?
Right.
Do you think that, do you think the right people are going to win? Do you think the wrong people are going to win? Do you have any thoughts on that stuff? We need some controversy.
Right. Well, you know that I do live in District 9 in terms of...
I guess that's where I was going with that.
Yeah, sure. So there's on the one side, you've got somebody that's been a council person for, I think this will be the 20th term if they win. I think the last time was like 37 years or 39 years or something like that, just career politician. So there's on the one side, he's the incumbent and he's the name that people know and recognize. And if you have no interest or you are, not on social media, so you're not connected with, or you weren't home when when Emma, what's her last name? Wolfwilder? Fullwilder. So, excuse me. If you weren't home when she came around, you may have no clue. So, of course, there's only that option of, well, you go with the name that you know. I don't know where either one of them stand on the issue. I have to admit that I'm not the biggest baseball fan, so I don't go out of my way to gather information about it. The one thing that did come up in a recent Broadway business owner meeting was regarding parking. And they said that they are planning on working with property owners in the adjacent properties to see if they could utilize their parking lots. But they also said that they would maintain them. So I'm assuming that means like litter, snow removal.
Right.
Don't know.
There's a lot of stuff there.
Yeah. So, I mean, if they're talking about making this a multi-use facility, right? So not only would there be baseball, but they also want to offer it to Green Bay West High School for baseball, soccer, and football, I believe. And then they were also planning on doing a soccer field, not for high schoolers. I don't know what you call
yeah, there's some kind of semi-pro team.
Thank you. Yeah. And then they had also mentioned something about in the winter they could use it as a sledding hill and fill in snow on the bleachers, and then you'd have a sledding hill. Okay, so the other part was concerts, right?
Right.
So they're talking about having potentially 8,000 people who show up for these concerts, and I think that's an awesome idea. I was curious after hearing that, and I doubt they would have personally had the information at this meeting, but what does the 4th of July event bring to downtown in terms of the number of people? And I'm assuming it's over 8,000 people. Mm-hmm. I think that's a fair assumption. And with that, the parking, it's kind of tough to get through town during 4th of July, especially after those fireworks go off. So if all of a sudden that part of Broadway has an influx of 8,000 people, we're talking probably getting into the wee hours of the morning, 1 to potentially in the morning, where suddenly you've got all these people filing out.
Well, so the reason that I kind of brought that up is you're right there, you're on the street, and it sounds like a fun thing, and all of us want, I think all of us really, I think everyone, including, people who've been in office for 40 years, they want fun amenities.
Right.
We all do.
Right.
And most of us, I think, want to be responsible and do that appropriately. I hear these numbers, though, where it's going to be a minimum of $4 million and it could be as much as $9 million. And that's if everything stays on budget and we don't have to deal with extra parking dollars, right?
Right.
For $4 million, I just think about kind of the whole point is to be a catalyst to bring business into that area. I feel like we could just do like a Green Bay Shark Tank and give $400,000 loans per year for 10 years and just say you have to open up on Broadway.
See, there would be an idea.
I think people lose sight of how much money that is. And I think baseball's good. I've gone to Bullfrog games. It's good. It's fun.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with where they're at, though.
Well, and that was the other question that I had was suddenly, well, what's going to happen at Joanne's Park?
Right.
So
yeah, then we need another $1 million to renovate that into something else. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, so it makes me kind of think about Millennium Park in Chicago, where they spent all of this money. They got Frank Gehry, a famous architect, to produce this band shell. It's beautiful. You know, it's where the Big Bean is, and beautiful park.
Absolutely.
But you walk a little bit south of that park, and you see where the old bandstand was and still stands, and sidewalks that are deteriorating. And I completely appreciate that too, and came up personally, what does that mean for Joanne's Park? And in my opinion, Joanne's looks like one of those places that you'd want to kind of keep alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's it's right along the East River, right? And they've got the skate park, and don't they have a water park as well? Yeah. Apart from it being a park, but
I mean, I don't have I would prefer a baseball stadium to coal piles.
Yeah.
But
coal piles won't be gone. They'll just be right next door.
I thought, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. So that's even more of a problem than to me. But, when our small town, I think we have 100,000 people. And when you think about how much $4 million is, even if you divide that equally among 100,000 people, that's a lot of money to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, I hope they're cautious about that. I want to have world-class things too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I'm torn.
Yeah.
I just, I want to see us do the right thing. And if the idea is that we're going to grow that area and we're going to increase the tax base with these new businesses, why don't we just give the money to the businesses?
Sure.
So I don't know. That's, I don't know. I came from an underfunded small business. And I know that $100,000 to start any small business is usually really helpful.
Very, yeah.
And do it Shark Tank style. So you only pick 1 out of 10 and you pick the best one.
Sure.
Right? You don't give to everybody.
A great idea would be to just give the money to Newsmakers Podcast Network.
As an example.
Well, I mean, so that sounds silly, but we're in the Broadway district right now. Mm-hmm. So that to me that wouldn't be unreasonable. If there's an existing business that is looking to expand into a new product offering or something like this, do I get a refill?
Mm-hmm.
Score.
Bonus. Good thing I'm walking.
Thank you for bringing beer, Rachel.
You're welcome.
Well, you're not having any.
No, gosh, no.
What are some of your other favorite Green Bay businesses?
Well, so I don't.
Besides Titletown,
I don't get out very much. I am. I don't go shopping very often. So if we based it on how much money I spent at another specific business that wasn't Titletown, it's probably the U.S. Postal Service, if I'm to be honest.
Well, okay, let me put it. It's
kind of boring. Or Family Dollar. I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be.
But that's work related. It has nothing to do with any of my.
You can answer that any way you want.
Personal time. No, free time. I mean, free time. I'm usually spending with friends. I'm not necessarily going for another retail thing, or it's.
You think there's any cool businesses based in Green Bay though?
Well, yeah.
Give them a shout out. That's what I'm looking for.
Well, gosh, I mean, I wish that I actually made my way into some more of these businesses, but I think it's great that we have things like Sassy Girl, Wild Ginger, Bag Lady, Zulu in and throughout the core of the district.
And briefly, what do those places all do?
So they are all unique stores to each other, but they do offer anything from, Sassy Girl offers homecoming dresses for the upcoming homecoming. And she does this cool thing where she only will sell one dress for that one girl in that one high school, so she doesn't end up wearing the same dress as somebody else. I think that's an awesome idea. And go Nicole Zeke. I personally also really like, Wild Ginger. They moved into a space that really needed some renovating and some serious love just to the building itself. As much as I appreciated having and do appreciate still having Beamster Electric right down the street, it needed a little bit of a boost, and I think they came with enough working capital that they did successfully create a really awesome ambiance in that space. I think that Zulu did an outstanding job, also more focused on the women's accessories. I'm a lady, so of course I take note of those things like ladies' accessories and where the places are to shop. I just don't happen to walk into a lot of these places. And and then Bag Lady. And it's cool to me that everybody, even though they cater to women and clothing, accessories, things like that are the focus, they're all unique to each other, you know? So I think that it's really awesome that we have all of these varieties of businesses that are kind of offering a similar idea, but everybody's different from each other. So that, and then the restaurants, I think, are just awesome, not only in the Broadway district, but throughout the city of Green Bay. I think there are some really awesome places to go eat, dine out. Black Hat White Dog brunch, breakfast on Sunday mornings, 9 to 2. It's pretty amazing.
Better make reservations.
Better make reservations. Although I did actually once end up there right at 9 o'clock, and got right on in there, food within 20 minutes. Phenomenal. But then
You were not with me that Saturday.
see, that's the thing, is that I obviously went to bed really early.
Because I come in there, bloodshot eyes, not usually, but not
About
at 9 o'clock.
noon.
Not at 9 o'clock.
Right, yeah,
And they're
that was kinda rare.
And they're like, they look at me and they know the answer.
Yeah.
And they're like, do you have reservations? And I'm like, I'll wait.
Yeah, that's fine. I see a little corner at the bar. Can I just like wiggle in there? It's fine. I'll make
right.
friends with the neighbors. It's
Right.
cool.
Rachel's right over there.
Yeah.
Is your family involved in your business?
Technically, yes. Yes, I represent both my mom and her jewelry and my brother and his paintings.
Sorry to take an abrupt left turn there.
Hey, no, that's fine.
Sorry.
No, it's
I just
cool.
like to ask some of those things.
I'm flexible.
And would you like to what's your 5-year plan, your 10-year plan?
I don't know. At this point, my main goal is
Like when you're kicking back, having some beers with your friends,
yeah.
and you're talking into a microphone,
Yeah.
talking about I think in 10 years this is what I'd like.
Well, so I think that it would be really awesome to eventually move back home to Door County. I personally really, really miss it. And I think that I miss it most because I do appreciate the natural space and natural environment, which I guess would answer another question of what's lacking is just that natural concept. But that's what I get for, I guess, living in a downtown of the third largest city.
Okay.
But I don't know, just when you got done with work, when I was living in Door County, it was like, hey, call up one of your buddies. Want to go hike a trail at Peninsula State Park? Do you want to go to the drive-in movie theater? Go ultimately any one of the number of parks that are available, or even hitting up the beach. But granted, that's only from like May until October.
Right. And we have lots of parks.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Don't get me wrong.
And we have a drive-in. It's, 20 minutes away.
Yeah. Give or take. Yeah. Yeah.
It's not quite as quaint.
Well, I just have that nostalgia thing. I just really love where I grew up, and I am very proud of where I grew up, and that is a place that I get to not only call home, but I get to still sleep in the same exact bedroom that I grew up in, and that's, I don't know, there's something kind of cool about that.
So do you think we can improve the green spaces in downtown? I mean, what do you think we could do what can we do to keep Rachel from leaving?
Well, it's a hypothetical sitting back over beers. I don't know. It'd be kind of cool to go back home.
Do we need to move your bedroom down here?
If we could just take that entire couple of acres of land and just
So is it like the water that you miss, or what piece of that do you really feel like you're pining for?
So one of my personal favorites is that I don't know, when I would get up in the morning, go grab your cup of coffee, and then you walk outside onto the front deck, and
See, that's the part where you already lost me.
Exactly.
I need coffee shops that have
Oh yeah, no. See,
if I didn't have Kavarna or or a Starbucks, even there's nothing there.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you bring your coffee home with you, and you make it at home,
Right.
and yeah, I know, foreign, I get it. Yeah, just see, and it's weird for me that there's a place right down the street that makes coffee. I mean, it's
And they do a good job.
I know, that's where I get all my coffee from. Kavarna, go Kavarna. Yeah, but waking up in the morning with your cup of coffee, go out in the front yard, and I don't know. there are no cars that go by. There are no Harley Davidsons that drive by. There are no semis. You can hear if there's a car that turns onto the street that I grew up on, and so and then everybody stares at the street like, who are you? Why are you driving down here?
Because I made a wrong turn and I need to turn around in your driveway.
Exactly.
What insanity
I know.
drove you
I know.
to drive here?
Well, quite literally, it's like they're either people that live on the street or they're tourists who have no idea where they're going because it is a street that just connects two main roads.
Yeah.
It's off in the middle of nowhere. I also grew up next door to my grandparents. They're still in the same house. Gosh, yeah, it was quite the picturesque little naive life I got to have up there. I miss it sometimes. Yeah.
No, that's cool. See, I mean, I always joke that I would love to move to Austin, but I'm here.
Sure.
You know,
Oh yeah. And not to say that I don't appreciate everything that I have here. I mean, my God, when I first moved down to Broadway, and I told my dad, because he went to college here at JB in the early 80s. So of course he was terrified for me because, well, Broadway was not the place that you would be at the time, a 20-year-old college student female hanging out on Broadway. And he's like,
I don't think any college student.
yeah, like, are you sure you want to do that? I'm like, no, Dad, it's cool. It's fine. Come on and hang out. And now, he's even turned his opinion. He thinks that it's one of the coolest spots in downtown, in Green Bay. I feel like I have everything that I need right at my fingertips. It's the smallest big city. It has that very small town feel.
Or the biggest
small town, yeah. But it's just a couple of minutes. It's a 3 mile. It's 3 miles, and you're in the country.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of cool that it is the third largest city, but it still has that small town feel.
Well, the third largest city in Wisconsin.
In Wisconsin, yes.
We're not known for our big cities.
No. Well, yeah, I was just in Milwaukee last week. It's not Milwaukee, that's for sure.
Well,
yeah, and that's okay.
Yeah. So, now I forgot the question I was going to ask you. We were talking too much about Fish Creek.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of thrown for
it's
that.
It's captivating, I know.
It's fine. It's fine. I was born in Sturgeon Bay.
Right.
Well, everyone knows that.
Yeah.
They have monuments.
I've seen that statue. Yeah.
I never lived in Sturgeon Bay.
Oh.
My mom and dad were from Sturgeon Bay, so we had to go up there for me to be born.
Okay.
I guess.
Door County Memorial.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I was born there too.
I didn't really understand that, but
it's okay.
Whatever. It's all good.
Yeah.
So we talked about Green Bay. We talked about your business. We talked about how you started it. You don't have any plans for your business for the next 10 years other than you want to move away?
I don't necessarily see myself being one of those franchise businesses per se. And when I say that I would do like a move or a transition back home, I'm thinking in the long-term sense that there would probably be something that is the gift itself 2.0 kind of thing, where maybe instead of representing multiple artists like I do now, I'm perhaps just representing myself and selling those things that I know sell quickly and well. But then it would just ultimately give me that opportunity to sneak away a little bit, go home, have some R&R at the end of the night in a place that I really enjoy for nostalgia purposes.
All right. So in 20 years when you're 40.
Yeah. 50, but yeah. 40. I like that better. Yeah, that's good.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So are you thinking that you'd like to do what was done with you? So transition to a new owner, pass the torch? Or do you think, no, this is too much mine? What are your thoughts?
Well, I certainly do have that very possessive feel about it now.
Do you really?
I
or are you
do.
being sarcastic?
No,
Okay.
quite literally. I have that thing where I have a problem with being gone from the business for too much time.
Well, that's the sickness.
Yeah, it's terribly disgusting. It's just hilarious to me because on the one side of my brain, I'm thinking like, God, Rachel, get over yourself and just take some time off. But on the other side, it's like, but it's so mine. And what about the money or something? I don't know. Like, I have this one thing that I need to do. But one thing that I have learned is that there's always going to be a list of things that need to be done. Mm-hmm. And I feel like if suddenly one day my entire list of to-dos in the shop is empty, then I'm probably doing something wrong. So keeping a good job of maintaining a lot of to-dos. But I don't know. If somebody were to come under my employ like I did for Alan Michelle, and they just, fit perfectly, and I don't know, hypothetical, they express interest. Sure, I don't know.
Would you rather run things yourself or have someone else who has some autonomy do things that works for you?
Well, both.
So no.
I mean, on the one hand, I know okay, so running a business, the main goal is make money, pay my bills. So the one thing that I know that I do really, really well is make custom jewelry and produce and sell most of the jewelry that's going through that shop. So if suddenly I have somebody that is handling all of my accounting, all of my custodial work, all of the, inventory for the other artists, and did it as well as I do, to my even above and beyond my level of perfectionistic way, then yeah, great. That'd be awesome. I don't know if I'd be able to afford them right now, but
Well, so there's a few different things there, right? So are you familiar with the book, The E-Myth?
no.
And it's not gospel or anything, but they have this concept of the entrepreneur, the technician, and something else. So there's like three different things that are necessary for like your business brain when you're running a small business. There's the entrepreneur who's the visionary, and then there's the person who sets the structure, who kind of plans things, the spreadsheet person,
Sure.
the accounting person, and then there's the person who's good at so there's I forget what the middle thing is called, but there's the technician.
Administrator.
And it's something like that.
Yeah.
That might be right. But that idea, right? So there's somebody who needs to handle the spreadsheets and keep things sort of on track. There's somebody who needs to look for that 10-year vision.
Right.
And then there's somebody who needs to make jewelry.
Right.
So like what percentages of each of those things do you think you are? And do you think you'd want somebody else to come in and fill any of those gaps? Or do you think you're good? What are your thoughts on that?
Some days I absolutely love being there by myself and taking care of all of those little tidbits by myself. But then again, I'm a really small operation anyway.
And do you like that?
Yeah.
So you don't have any aspirations of opening a second location?
Well, and that's just it. It's like, maybe someday I wouldn't be opposed to it, but then again, I'm open to suggestion, I know what I can do that's going to make me the most amount of money. Doing things like I had to do for hours today, like my accounting, I know is not making me money. So that's very frustrating on the one hand, that I could be doing something else that I know would, versus something that I know is just a requirement. So yeah, I mean, it would be great.
See, I'm the same way. That's why I can't even think of what that's called, because I just try to block that from my brain.
Yeah. It
seems like wasted time that just pays somebody, the IRS or,
right.
whatever.
Yeah. Ultimately, I'm just figuring out what the numbers are so that I can give it to the tax people so that they can say, oh, you.
Or in the case of if you have employees, especially if you have
withholding taxes.
Well,
yeah.
But even just telling them what to do.
See, yeah, that's another thing is I have one employee and she and I were employees together with the previous owner. So she knows.
What's her name?
Ashley Depry Peters. Hey, Ash. She is phenomenal. She just had a little baby. So she just came back from maternity leave 2 weeks ago. So I had about 7 weeks, 6 days a week, all for myself. Those were long days. Those were starting to get a little long. And so it was very awesome when she would come and visit.
Hence the backpack full of beers.
To share.
No, half the backpack went to me. Mm-hmm. It's all good.
Yeah. So, what was the question again?
Well, I mean, I don't want to make too much out of it, but what's fascinating to me about business people is that there's almost actually three different types of people who start businesses. Mm-hmm. There's people who have this vision, who want to do all these things,
right?
And I think I would put Daniel into that camp, like, oh, I got all these ideas and I want to get people to execute them. Right.
Sure.
And then there's someone who, maybe they worked somewhere and they see the money-making opportunity and they're that administrator type, right? And then there's the technician, the person who's good at doing the stuff that gets done.
Right.
And those are people that are like you or maybe like me, right? Well, I like making stuff.
Right.
And that's the part that's really rewarding to me. Yeah, I have visions of grandeur every once in a while, but, mostly I just want to do my stuff, get paid enough, and, go on my merry way.
Basically, yeah.
So do you think that you're the right mix for that? Do you think somebody ever could take your place? Do you think you're the wrong mix and maybe you should find somebody? Or do you think that Ashley, does she fill in some of those gaps for you?
Yeah, she does the repairs of jewelry with me. The two of us, I'm having a hard time letting go since she's been gone for 7 weeks and I was doing all of the repairs that she would normally have been doing. So apart from that, while she was pregnant, there were certain aspects of the repair side that were probably not so good for her to do. So she opted not to do those repairs. So I've been going on 10 months now, almost 11 months, doing a mix of some of her repair job stuff. But now I'm just trying to figure out weaning myself off of what she's been doing. But then she also loves doing administration work. So I can set her up with QuickBooks to do my accounting data entry, and she absolutely loves it, which is just swell for me.
So do you think she likes doing that kind of stuff? Or?
Yes.
Really?
Oh, yeah. She absolutely loves doing data entry.
See, and I get really afraid of too much of that.
Yeah, she's yeah, she is definitely a nerd about data entry. She loves it. By the way, if you ever need a paper read over,
Yeah,
she's definitely want someone to ask. She's
like a proofreader.
Oh yeah.
Really
Oh my gosh, yes.
interesting.
Oh yeah.
I try to not write papers either.
Well, sometimes people ask things of me or others, and I usually refer them to her.
Okay, so we're gonna wrap up pretty quick. You've been in business a few years now. What are your top 3 nuggets of wisdom, or even your top 1?
Be prepared to be tired at the end of the day. Sometimes you just don't feel like you've done nearly enough.
So how do you cope with that?
Sleep.
And a backpack full of beer.
Backpack. These are all you people saying these things. I haven't said or referenced a backpack full of beer once.
Which is actually plenty. I don't know how many times you have to reference it.
That's what I'm saying. You people have brought it up multiple times.
So be tired. I mean,
Anticipate being worn out,
So be prepared for the workload.
But then again, I'm also in retail,
Yeah.
so I do work one-on-one with customers. So, it can get tiring after a while. And it's a lot of information to have and a lot of disclosures that go along with jewelry, specifically jewelry repair.
The good thing about retail, though, is if you have a closing time, you have a set time that you can take a break.
That's so true. And being the owner, I get to put that little sign in the window if I need to. Take 5. That's
you
always
can
nice,
you can
but-
technically do that with any business.
Well, we're
that
right.
part, right?
Right.
But when you have like set hours, I mean, that's there's good and bad with that, right?
Right.
Of course. But if you're like, okay, at 6:00 I can take a break.
Yeah. Turn your brain off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that there's something very appealing to that.
Right.
I used to work in retail. I think most people at some point worked in retail, and I didn't realize how much I liked that part of it.
Right.
The sickness of entrepreneurs is you never really turn off.
Right.
But you get to turn part of it off.
Exactly,
That way.
yeah.
Whereas people who aren't in retail, they don't have that trigger that is like, okay, I get to turn it off.
Yeah.
So like working straight through to 9:00 at night or 2 a.m. or starting at 5 a.m, like it's all kind of the same to a lot of modern businesses now
Right.
that aren't retail. So,
Right.
So the be tired thing, that applies to everybody.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's so good point to have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anticipate that you're going to be exhausted.
Yeah.
If you for what I do, I can honestly and with passion say that I absolutely love what I do. And if I had to start all over again, I would absolutely go through all the hoops that I had to go through, and I would do it again because I really care a lot about what I'm doing. And I think that it's most wonderful when I am able to do a custom piece of jewelry for somebody. And we had this running joke that it was best when we can draw people to tears. That's fun.
Really?
Oh, yeah. When you have somebody who's just so overwhelmed with joy that they
I
get
think
to...
they would be.
It doesn't happen as often as you'd think, but
Really?
sometimes it's nice to
There's
be...
like custom jewelry.
Yeah, custom jewelry, or the other good one is when you can take an heirloom piece of jewelry and repair it for somebody, and it was, that cherished piece from great grandmother, and oh
Right.
my gosh, it's been in the family for generations, and then I can restore it for them and then hand it over to them, and then when you can get those, single tear rolling down the cheek, that's a good one.
Do you snap pictures of them?
I tend not to. They don't know about the cameras.
So, I always want to like reach out for advice to other entrepreneurs because I'm trying to think of who's listening to the show, and either they're experts at business or they're not experts at business, and the experts don't need our help, right? Mm-hmm. And the people that aren't experts, I want to just give them a little bit of perspective and a little piece of knowledge from someone like you who's you took something that was pretty great, I think.
Yeah.
And even if that were on autopilot, which I know it's not because I know you, that would be pretty impressive. And the example is a lot of times there'll be a first generation business and then goes to the second generation,
Right.
and it collapses,
Right.
very quickly. And I don't see any of that happening. So I think you're doing the right stuff.
Thank you. I do feel like, though, I was given this added bonus because I did work for the previous employers, and I knew I was doing well.
So if I read into that, would you say to somebody who's starting a business to have some experience in what you're going into?
Yeah. If you've got a resume and you're looking to expand on that resume,
Yeah.
if you can say that you've got some experience level doing I have only, again, ever worked in an art-related industry. And if I hadn't, I wouldn't be able to sell ceramics that I have available,
It sounded like a ridiculous question the way I phrased it, right? But when I started out, when Daniel started out, people weren't doing what we were doing.
Sure.
So nobody had experience.
Right.
It was all like, whatever you want to call it, blue sky,
Yeah.
There was nowhere to go but up, but that actually wasn't true because you could go down.
Turns out.
And I mean, and almost everybody did. Almost nobody ultimately succeeded. Even the successes really didn't succeed, right?
Sure.
So like back in the early days, like there was AOL, right?
Right.
Oh, where are they now? They're really not.
Right.
So, and that's because really nobody knew what they were doing.
Sure.
And things kind of just went and took on a life of their own. So it's not a given, I guess, that someone's going to come into a business with the level of expertise that you actually did have. Mm-hmm. And you might think, well, I didn't have that much. But really, even if you only spent a couple of years doing that, that's a lot.
I assume that it was pretty high up in level of expertise. Otherwise, I doubt that Alan Michelle would sell to me the business. At least they should not have.
Yeah. And so what's your relationship with them now?
It's great. Yeah. Michelle, we were just chatting the other day, and she bops in every now and again. I do still represent her as a artist in the shop. Well, so Michelle is one of the represented artists in the gallery, and then Al bops in often. He actually helped me not only during almost, I think, every farmer's market last year. I gave him a sweet deal that he could represent me and himself in his own line of jewelry using my booth.
Right.
So he obviously knows what I'm doing in my product. It was an opportunity for him to get a little extra cash on the side as well and get some custom work in. So it was obviously beneficial for me in that case. And then he helped me during the winter wine walks this past December during the holiday season and came in and helped me out pouring wine. So
Nice.
yeah, I personally like to think that it's a pretty solid relationship with both of them. I don't want to speak for them, but it
Okay,
seems like we get along
all right.
well.
And then just a couple closing things. Give me your sales pitch for somebody to move into the Broadway district.
Oh, do it. It's so fun. It's so fun. I think that it's pretty great. I know that some people might not, but I think that it's a pretty awesome place. I've been down here for 10 years. If you want that kind of unique, independent feel of a district that definitely does collaborate, communicate, has awesome events all together, and encompasses the greater Broadway district as a whole, and it's expanding. I think that it's definitely a good choice. I feel like it just takes a couple hours of exploring the district that you just realize, or at least it's fairly obvious to me.
So they should come down. They should check it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And okay, give me your sales pitch for the gift itself.
Gift itself, 21 years already this year in the Broadway district, opened up in 1995. Currently, I have 35 different artists on display from across the country. So everything, as I said before, is completely one of a kind and handmade in the USA by the artists themselves. There are no merchants, no wholesalers, no distributors, just working directly with the artists themselves. And with that, the focus is, of course, jewelry production. So most of what you'll see in the shop is made by me or my coworker, Ashley, right there in-house. And we also do repairs as well as custom jewelry, and that's on anything repair-wise, from gold and diamonds to costume and rhinestone jewelry that you just like and you need some rhinestones glued back in, or a new diamond set in your wedding set. And custom, anything really, quite literally, what your heart desires. The world is your oyster. It is more than likely that we can actually do what you want. It's just a matter of you bringing us the information and we'll make it for you. And from that point, it's just a matter of how it's going to be made. So I can carve waxes to create jewelry from that is then burned out in a plaster mold. And
You can do things with shark teeth.
I can. Did you see that? Did I mention that to you?
You showed me part of it.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Most recent post.
So if somebody was looking to get in touch with you, what's your preferred way? Don't say Google Hangouts. That's really nerdy.
Well, that's just for you and me, right? Select friends on Google Hangouts. No, info@thegiftitself.com is a great email address to work with. Otherwise, phone also. I know, actually picking up the phone and calling 433-9171. We are on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest. And we do have, if you go to thegiftitself.com, our website, the shop tab has links to our Etsy page. So if you click on any of the items in our shop, it will direct you to our Etsy.com at the Gift Itself page.
And I mentioned you're in the Broadway district. What's your address there?
The Basics, 125 North Broadway.
I miss the basics
Well,
sometimes.
sometimes.
So I think that's all I got. If you don't have anything else, Rachel.
I think that I'm good.
So Rachel Sawinski.
That's
Did I
it.
say it right?
Yeah.
I always second guess myself.
I'm just like Rhonda Sitnikow, actually.
Right.
I learned that from you. Sitnikow, I can actually pronounce her name confidently. It's all phonetic. So Winsky. Yeah.
Right? I try.
Yeah.
So this is episode number 3. So that is greenbaynewsmakers.com/3. You can go to greenbaynewsmakers.com/3, the number 3, and you can get this episode if you don't automatically get it into your little podcatcher.
And
so
Hangouts.
we're out. in Hangouts. Am I going to drop it into your Hangouts?
I don't know. You might.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends on Facebook or Twitter, or even better, submit a show review to iTunes or Stitcher. To listen to other episodes of Green Bay Newsmakers, visit greenbaynewsmakers.com/episodes. To support our podcast, please visit our sponsors who make this show possible. You can do this by visiting greenbaynewsmakers.com/sponsors. Green Bay Newsmakers is a proud member of the Newsmakers Podcast Network, an ever-growing network of podcasts covering a wide range of topics. Check them out at npcn.tv.
Thank you for listening to Green Bay Newsmakers. To ensure that you never miss an episode, subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcast app. If you or someone you know would be an incredible guest on the show, email us at guests@greenbaynewsmakers.com. To stay up to date, visit greenbaynewsmakers.com or connect with us on Facebook and Twitter.